Okay.
Welcome, ghosts, lizard ladies, and alien fetuses in a jar, to episode 546 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 23rd of August, 2025, and featuring Redacted Parts 6 through 10, written by Ken Chang, Ella Watts, Ajoke Ibironke, Juno Dawson, Doris V. Sutherland, and David K. Barnes, and starring Charlie Craggs as Cleo Proctor, Lois Chimimba as Abby McPhail, and Holly Quin-Ankrah as Shauna Thompson. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and I'm going to say if it's the weekend that the city doubles in population every year, maybe schedule more than one bus an hour. With me are Alex Fyrehart.
Hello.
And Aaron RomeoMoon Burke.
Hello.
And I've updated our slideshow so that we have our links and everything, and those links will also now be at the closing portion of the podcast. So anybody out there who's interested, feel free to stop by a Ko-fi or a Patreon, or just follow us on Twitter or whatnot. I mean, I think the Twitter links have always been in the descriptions on YouTube anyway. How's everybody's week going?
I'm doing okay. I'm just
I guess I should mention our last recording slot was canceled, I think, because I was feeling like crap. I think it was weather induced, or insomnia induced, with weather induced insomnia. And just was not going to be prepared to podcast on time.
Right, like I think it was a 1-2 punch as well, because I think Aaron wasn't going to be available anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then that happened, and we just decided it was better off to call it off.
Oh, I see you've got the Discord overlay with all of our faces. Well, faces. But yeah, anybody got anything interesting going on?
I mean, mainly for me, it's just been a matter of I guess for the first time I was finally able to get through the entirety of a tournament that happened in Japan. That took place over, God, I forget how long, about a month or so. Mind you, it was reduced in size, probably just for budget reasons, but normally, and like, I guess specifically, it's not like a single elimination tournament. It was like Japan has a tendency to do round robin tournaments. Like usually a minimum of 2 blocks, and it's basically just everyone faces each other, and highest scorers go to the finals and goes from there.
I just Googled it real quick. Is it the one that I just pasted onto the screen?
Yeah. G1 Climax, yeah. And it was interesting finally getting to watch a full one, because usually, I don't know if it's just like, I mean, it's probably a matter of just kind of burnout of like so much wrestling in such a condensed period of time. Weirdly enough, my brain did not have that problem this time. It was just a matter of falling behind, because like I'd be tired from work and I'd be like, I'll get to it later. and would thankfully the benefit of it was a matter of there was only 2 blocks of 10, and then one block became a block of 9 because a guy got injured on literally day 1 and had to drop out. So that knocked down the amount of matches per day in some days. And they would usually have preliminary tag matches that had nothing to do with anything. So those I just skip over, and I just stick straight to the tournament matches. But yeah, it was nice getting to watch a whole one. Normally there'd be like just people involved that I don't like, so I just don't watch their matches. But in this case, I did not have that problem. And the winner was surprising because it's a guy who is like technically signed to 3 different promotions right now. Because he's primarily signed to AEW in the US, New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is the company this tournament happened in, and that puts this tournament on every year, and a smaller promotion called DDT, which was the people who trained him. But it's more like DDT only does like once in a blue moon at this point.
Starting to sound like music labels at this point.
But yeah, like it was cool to see him win it. I don't know if he's gonna win the resulting title match that you get from winning it, but we'll see. I would be surprised. But yeah, other than that, it's basically just been work, although I'm really hoping that this once the assessment for the autism diagnosis, because from I think I would have brought it up last time, I think that like it figures that it must just have been like a preliminary diagnosis for the time being of like, yeah, you're definitely, like, I would say you're definitely on the spectrum, but not like a definitive diagnosis kind of a thing. And I'm hoping that goes away. It does, because something's gotta give at this point, and I'm gearing
Gotcha.
up to potentially quit this job. But I would rather have a potential safety net if they're like, yes, you are, or like I can definitively put you here on the autism spectrum, and you would be entitled to some kind of financial support, so I can like quit this job and not care so much about just being completely broke. I mean, I'm broke anyway, but you know, like potentially.
Alternatively, if a whole bunch of people subscribed on Twitch, maybe we'd have a safety net right there.
I think
Might
a lot of our
though.
people are broke too.
Yeah, fair. We got just a couple minutes left. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm being kind of quiet because I'm in a hotel room, but I'm up visiting my dad in Rivers. He's in hospice, but also in assisted living, so he's doing actually pretty good. Still fairly independent and up and moving around and stuff too. So I'm up here with my boyfriend Chris, and we're having a pretty good time with my family.
Yeah. We'll forgive the underwater sounding internet connection from the hotel.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's can't control what the hotel makes available.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, moving on from there. Yeah, on tonight's show we've got our birthdays and news. We've got, unless it's been updated, one item of Geek Talk. And then we have our episode summary, review, final thoughts, and ratings. Since Alex is on tech, who most feels up to doing birthdays?
I mean,
or should I try to do it as well as
I
the
can
news?
do it. I've actively got the outline
Okay, cool.
in a different tab, so it won't fuck it up.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So starting on the 29th of July, we have David Warner, who was the audio-only Doctor from the Unbound universe, as well as other audio roles, as well as being in... Oh, I don't remember the character name, but he was in the episode Cold War in the Matt Smith era, if I remember that correctly.
And I'm sure that's come up on a podcast before, and I just never fixed it.
He would have been 84, but died in 2022 at the age of 80.
Professor Grisenko.
That's it. On the 5th of August, we have Brian Minchin, who had numerous production roles for Doctor Who and the spin-offs starting in 2006, and was an executive producer of Doctor Who for the 12th Doctor era, turned 47. On the 9th of August, we have Roberta Tovey, who played Susan in the Aru Dalek movies, turned 72. On the 12th of August, we have John Nathan Turner, who was a producer of Doctor Who from 1984 to 1994. Would have been 78, but died in 2002 at the age of 54. We've got a few on the 20th of August. Starting...
Yeah, August 20 is one of our big dates.
First off, on the 20th, we have Sylvester McCoy. Was the 7th Doctor from 87 to 96, plus worked for Big Finish since. Turned 82. Also on the 20th, we have Sophie Aldred, fittingly enough, who was Ace from 87 to 89, as well as coming back for one of the specials in 2022. Power of the Doctor in 2022, plus work for Big Finish, turned 63. And also on the 20th, we have Anthony Ainley, who played Trima and the Master from 1981 to 94. Would have been 93, but died in 2004 at the age of 71. And then we have two on the 22nd of August. First up, we have James Corden, who played Craig Owens from 2010 to 2011, turned 47. And finally, also on the 22nd of August, we have Mark Williams, who played Brian Williams in Series 7, who turned 66.
Which the last two, some might consider controversial as being chosen for birthdays over other people they were chosen over, but they do technically count as companions.
Yeah. And as much as people don't tend to like James Corden, he is a notable enough name to bring up, despite only appearing twice. But yeah, so happy birthday to David, Brian, Roberta, John, Sylvester, Sophie, Anthony, James, and Mark.
And I just have to, since you brought it up, if we're going to talk about people that are not companions who are famous and appeared several times, James Marsters would have been on the list along with like four other people. So
I guess
all right, let's see if I can power through the news in 16 minutes. First off, it's not on the slides. It was kind of a late edition because it's not from one of our normal sources, and I forgot about it and did not really have a visual for it anyway. We do have a quote from Kate Phillips, Chief Content Officer at the BBC, who was speaking at the, hopefully I'm saying this right, Edinburgh TV Festival. And specifically said, any Whovians out there, rest assured, Doctor Who is going nowhere. Disney has been a great partnership, and it continues with the war between the land and the sea next year. But going forward, with or without Disney, Doctor Who will still be on the BBC. The TARDIS is going nowhere. So anybody saying that Doctor Who is canceled or, Disney is pulled out or anything, we don't know what's up with Disney. They have not made any official statement. Neither are like rumor mill sources that would report on leaks or actual sources that would report on confirmed news have anything to say about Disney canceling anything. It's just a very, very slow or very silent negotiation. But this is the BBC saying that they plan to continue Doctor Who regardless of what Disney decides.
Which
I
goes
think
without.
that negotiation really affects people like the three of us, the international audience, a lot more than it affects the show itself.
Yeah.
We just don't know who is bringing the show to the rest of us, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like, honestly, it wouldn't shock me if a decision has been made, but they're just keeping it private for now. But also I could see with the rights like having lapsed from Max and all that maybe like that has sparked like additional negotiations of, okay, if we keep this going under a new deal, will that be factored in, and we'll get all of modern stuff, including new airing things and such and whatever.
And the thing is that they really can't just say, well, we know we're going to start the show. Here's, hey, RTD, here's a few $1 million, film the next season.
Yeah.
Because, like, even though Disney didn't have a lot of creative control, they still expect some commentary. There may be certain things that they're like, we're absolutely not going to show certain content on our platform, or certain things like that you can't just go ahead before the negotiations are done.
Yeah. Plus, they generally have to know what kind of money they're working with. Like, from what I understand, like, most of the money Disney did give to the production in general was also just to like a boost.
Most of it was for upgrading to like 4K for Disney.
Yeah, which like you'd probably want to know if you're filming in that
only
or not.
Disney benefited from that.
Yeah, it's very much a thing of like, okay, we should probably know if we're filming with that level of detail before we start.
Right. Well, hopefully they didn't throw out the cameras. All right, moving on to our next piece, which is the one that's currently on the screen. So, Michelle Gomez, formerly Missy, or I guess perpetually Missy, as Doctor Who tends to go, was recently cast as Minerva McGonagall in the Harry Potter audiobook series. I do not know why they're making new Harry Potter audiobooks 30 years later. I felt like they made audiobooks already. I remember my sister falling asleep to them every night for about 6 years straight.
I think the difference is that was just a single narrator, whereas this is a full cast audio. Like that was purely Stephen Fry. This is a full cast.
And before Stephen Fry, there was a different person who did it too that I actually prefer.
But given the types of fans that Michelle Gomez would have, this has sparked quite a bit of backlash because, people who would be fans of Michelle Gomez and Doctor Who are not fans of J.K. Rowling and the things that she puts her profit into. So Gomez put out an Instagram story to address this. She says, to my LGBTQ plus fans, and especially the trans community, I want to speak directly to the concerns that have been raised about my involvement in this project. I hear you and I understand why this is painful for many. I want to be clear that I stand with trans people and I support trans rights fully and without hesitation. When I accepted this role, I did so as someone who has always loved the stories and what they meant to so many, especially those who found comfort and identity in that world. I now understand more clearly how deeply complicated and hurtful this association can feel, and I take that seriously. Being an ally means listening even when it's uncomfortable, and taking accountability where it's needed. I'm committed to doing both. And then in the next story, which I think is also on the screen, because there's two images there, she posted that she was making a contribution to an LGBTQ plus health charity. And Cultbox does note that, she does not in any way pledge to stop performing in the audiobooks. And also the fact that stories are only up for 24 hours while the struggle continues. So it's very clear they have a very specific opinion of that.
Yeah, it's from
Uh,
what I can
oh,
understand,
sorry.
it's less that she was recently cast so much as recently revealed to be on the cast. Like these are apparently going to be released
Right,
one a
yeah.
month, so this has likely been in the can for a while.
It's very possible they've all been recorded and Cultbox is
Yeah,
taking that
yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
context.
Like it
Um,
is pretty much guaranteed that these were probably recorded like up to a year ago. And with this whole thing,
mhm.
I am more willing to give Michelle Gomez a sort of okay, you're like I'm going to be wary to see if you keep like if you put your money where your mouth is moving forward from this, that like
Mhm.
you probably like there is potential that she wasn't necessarily either as aware or potentially that she thought, oh, these are just audio dramas, maybe the impact won't be as bad for me being involved or something. And this is her basically being like, oh shit, okay. um actually taking accountability, unlike trying to deflect like a lot of other celebrities have that have been involved with the new show that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Where like one guy was like, oh well, I mean, I signed this petition, so see, I'm okay with it. Like at least she's giving money to charity. I would have preferred we see the exact amount. Like if it had been like, okay, I donated all of the money I got from that to charity or something like that. But I
And
again,
yeah, so
I'm a bit more willing to like. She's not like she doesn't get a pass so much as just
mhm.
given her reaction to the response, I am more likely to be like, okay, let's see if you keep this up moving forward and avoid doing shit like this in the future, or if this is a matter of damage control and then she goes back to do something like this later.
Right. So
Mm.
what this feels like to me is this seems a lot almost like people who are like, well, I am going to like do use every single possible like anti thing that climate activists tell me is wrong to do. Um even though I have the power to do otherwise, but then I'm going to donate to a carbon tax and
Mm,
assume that that fixes it, like that sort of mentality.
yeah.
I also kind of felt like if this is like a penance, I'm like that sounds like a very like Catholic mentality. Which I was just sitting
Mm.
here like I wonder what her religion is, and I'm seeing that she's well Scottish Mexican. Well, no, Scottish Mexican, but actually Caribbean of Portuguese descent. So the fact that I'm finding nothing about her religion suggests she's probably not religious, but it does sound like somebody.
Mm,
It sounds like the sort of reaction somebody raised in a Catholic household would do. Of I
mm,
need to do my penance to get past my sin. I
mm,
will say, on one hand, she should have known better. It's 2025.
mm,
On
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, there and granted, a lot of I'm not going to say us because I mean I research queer topics in academia. I absolutely am kind of in a in the
mm,
area of where it's related to my job. A lot of people can make statements of support and actions of support without having to make career decisions.
mm.
This is not true of actors, and I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of actors kind of uh what's the word God damn it. They it's not the word I'm looking for, but they partition things like actual
Mm,
jobs from like the actual like who they're going to be working for as a defense mechanism. But I kind of agree with what you said. I actually, yeah. I kind of agree of just like, okay, let's see. I'm not, this isn't a, cancel Michelle Gomez thing, but it's like this,
Yeah.
probably was something that some foresight and thinking about it might have prevented the harm, and hopefully that she's going to have that foresight in the future.
Yeah. Like,
Mhm.
it's definitely, she doesn't get a pass, but it's also one of those things of, this reaction is a hell of a lot better than most have had to this kind
Mhm.
of being cast in something, and they've
That's true.
basically
Yeah.
been like John Lithgow has basically been
Well, the
like,
bar is
who
on the
gives a
floor when it
shit?
comes to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, John Lithgow has basically been like, who gives a shit? Nick
Mhm.
Frost, I think, has had
I
a
do appreciate this
similar.
a whole lot better than people who are like, oh, but she's such a J.K. Rowling is such a wonderful person, or I don't care about J.K. Rowling. I only the stories are
Yeah.
authorless. Those both would have been very bad responses.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the bar is on the floor.
Right.
Mhm. Oh, by the way, the original narrator for the audiobooks was Jim Dale,
Ah,
Hmm.
for anyone who's curious.
all right. Moving to the next story. Actually, yeah. The next piece is that Verada See-Through accepts a critics award on behalf of Doctor Who, and I noticed that like the news story for me to learn from and to take notes on was an YouTube short. So I was thinking it might make sense for us to just play the short and like give a short reaction to it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think we're set up to be able to do. Is that right?
Should be, yeah. Here we go.
Hi, I'm TCA board member Matt Mitovich. The adventures of a two-hearted alien traveling through time and space in an impossibly big police box are inherently entertaining for all. But what Doctor Who attempts and accomplishes along the way is quite special and worthy of recognition. In the long-running sci-fi series' latest season, Ncuti Gatwa's Time Lord and Verada Sethu's companion Belinda Chandra dealt with timey-wimey crises that also explored timely concepts such as race, inclusivity, and incel culture. In doing so, Doctor Who invited families watching together or separately to have important discussions that transcend their co-viewing experience. What's more, the series also aims to resolve conflict through clever problem solving and rational mediation, and never with gratuitous violence. All told, Doctor Who is equal parts entertaining, illuminating, and mentally stimulating. One might say it's a show that appeals to all regenerations, and that is why it is TCA's pick for this year's Outstanding Achievement in Family Programming.
Thank you so much to the TV Critics Association for this incredible honor. I'm
I don't
so
know
proud
about
to
no
be
gratuitous
part of
violence.
such a beautiful, endlessly talented group of people who've created this incredible, magical show. And it just means so much to us to have this recognition. So thank you. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, just for I was unable to actually get any audio through it, so
Ah.
Yeah.
just for
Oops, I got to mute my phone again. Yeah, I was I had to mute my mic and watch Twitch for it. So it
Yeah, that's
sounds
fair.
like it's for the whole season because they specifically
Yeah.
mentioned like insult culture, but not specifically highlighting one episode.
Mm.
I'm thinking, I'm not sure if they watched the Eurovision episode because there was a little bit of what could be considered gratuitous violence in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, Verada See-Through kind of talked about the whole team. She didn't highlight any specific other people. So again, probably just the whole season kind of in general.
Mm.
Any other things to say there?
I mean, I guess it was kind of funny to specifically have, because like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not used to watching little things like that, but it was funny to see incel culture be specifically singled out as like a thing. But like among all the other things they were bringing up,
Mm.
which were like technically
I
a
guess
bit
that
more
was
broad.
specifically because it was such a specific thing dealt with by that episode.
And I guess if you want to be technical, yeah, it did kind of happen throughout because it's in at least like what 4 of the 8 if you want to count the
True.
the 2-part finale, Lucky Day, and Robot Revolution to a point.
Yep. All right. So for our next piece, there's a brief quote from Billie Piper at Florida SuperCon 2025. She was asked about being cast for the Reality War for the role that seems to be the next Doctor, but everyone's being cagey about because apparently they put no forethought into it, or they're doing that thing where they lie and pretend they've had no forethought. Which, again, just like I don't think that they can really say that they had no clue who Mrs. Flood was. But, that's not the point of what we're talking about. So, Billie Piper's quote, "Oh, this is such a minefield, and now I have to really engage with how I answer this." She paused to collect her thoughts and then said, "All I can say is I was approached very last minute, and I can't talk about in what capacity, but I found it very emotional to film, and I think it's a really great ending. I just found it quite moving, and it was really fun to film because it had such a sort of cloak and dagger feeling about getting it made. So yeah, I have to lie a lot about anything to do with Doctor Who, it seems."
Mm.
So I think that confirms other things we've mentioned about how apparently there were reshoots. They had planned for Ncuti Gatwa to continue to a 3rd season, and then he or somebody else made a decision that no, actually he's regenerating, and therefore we're changing just the last episode and no others.
Yeah, like the theory that I saw was him probably realizing that, like, again, he's a star on the rise. He probably doesn't want to be on the hook for a deal that may or may not continue, so God knows how long he'd be on the hook to them, to just wait around to see what happens. So he just probably decided, yeah, nah, I need to.
And that's, I think there were better ways for at least the production in general to handle it. But we've hashed all over that, and we're already past our news time. So in our next piece, this is a brief one. In the most recent, or at least this was 5 days ago, so probably the most recent episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I'm not sure if any of us are currently watching. At least nobody's been currently reporting it. But the TARDIS appears alongside the Enterprise as one of, it looks like, several, or many ships trapped inside the Astrovore. The starship must fight their way out of a star planet and ship-eating monstrosity known as the Astrovore, or many other names. And you can see the TARDIS. I'm sure there are other sci-fi shows in there. There's something that almost looks like the shape of an X-Wing if somebody were to sit down and analyze it. Of course, this was reported on a Star Wars, Doctor Who heavy site, so that's the one that they focused on.
Yeah.
Nice little Easter egg. And it doesn't, do too much in the way of universe-shattering implications if, it's kind of a place that a bunch of ships are being trapped in. So
right. Plus, it's like there have been crossover comics between the franchises, so
yeah. Then next we have Big Finish. So on the 29th of July was Torchwood Child Free, featuring Indira Varma as Susie Costello. On the 6th of August was Ninth Doctor Adventures Snare with Chris Eccleston and Billie Piper as Rose. On the 12th of August, we had Sixth Doctor Adventures Bad Terms with Colin Baker and Nicola Brown Perry. And on the 19th, we had The Death and Life of River Song, Series 3, The Dissolution of Time. Of course, with Alex Kingston as River Song. And there's also some news from Big Finish. So they had, for the Doctor Who side of things, there were 4 stories that were nominated for Scribe Awards. It looks like one of them was the joint winner, which was the Ninth Doctor Adventures Archipelago, which, have we done that? I don't recognize the title. I
I
don't
don't think we have.
think we've
No.
done that one.
No.
So, yeah, so, are those titles for limited? Well, I hate these. Oh, never mind. So there was a sale for half a week. Okay, so that definitely is past now. So we're not worried about the sale. But so the nominees were Ninth Doctor Adventures Archipelago by Tim Foley, Eighth Doctor Adventures Cascade by James Moran, Eighth Doctor Adventures Nowhere Never by Catherine Armitage, Classic Doctors New Monsters Faithful Friends, The Krillitane Faint, How Many Subtitles Does It Need by John Dorney, and then a Star Cops episode. So yeah, congrats, I guess, to Tim Foley and to the cast of that story. Which brings us on to Geek Talk. So let's reset the timer there. So since our last podcast, I've managed to watch about a season and a half of My Adventures with Superman. So I'm not really in a good position to talk about the meat of season 2 yet, but I can say season 1 I really enjoyed. So basically the premise of the show is Lois, Clark, and Jimmy are roughly all the same age in their early 20s. They're all starting as interns at the Daily Planet. So that's a little bit different from the classic of Lois Lane as the seasoned reporter, with Clark as the new guy and so forth. But it puts them all on equal footing and gives them a chance to kind of, it's kind of one of those like borderline, like coming of age, like college type stories. Like they're all basically recent college grads going through those sorts of things.
So
one thing I liked about it.
I was going to say, basically like a slightly aged up but cartoony Smallville.
So I think Smallville is Smallville set in Metropolis?
No, that's
okay.
I think that Smallville was Smallville, but it was a matter of them as all teenagers, but knowing each other. I think, or at least him and Lois.
Oh, they were all teens. Okay. Oh, I didn't know. I heard Lex Luthor was in Smallville, and I was like, how do you know him in Smallville? Which actually, funny thing on Lex, I'll mention later. But yeah, so this this very much plays into like anime fans' sensibilities, both with the animation and the writing, especially with certain characters that are like kind of come to their prime in season 2. But basically, what we have here is while they're coming into this, this includes Superman's kind of first outing. He already knew he had powers, but this is kind of him becoming Superman. You see him get the costume in a magical girl sequence. You see him learn that he had, he did not know he was bulletproof. He did not know he had heat vision, and he did not have super hearing. All of that stuff. But I really like the pace at which it's happening. So if you read comics, you might know that it took about 50 years for Lois Lane to discover that Clark was Superman and then get into a relationship with him properly. All of that happens within like season 1, within probably, I think the seasons are like 10 episodes or so. I didn't count, but they're not super long. But yeah, all of that happens at a fairly brisk pace. Basically the idea is that a failed Kryptonian invasion right around the same time that Clark came to Earth. So on one hand, they've been assuming he was a sleeper agent or something, but also the fact that not Argus, but their predecessors, still Task Force X, Checkmate, if you're familiar with them, run by Lois's dad and Amanda Waller, have basically been experimenting with Kryptonian tech. It gets stolen, and that is like all of the villains in season 1 are gaining their powers because of this stolen U.S. government experimented Kryptonian tech that is now out on the streets. So which has kind of been the formula for comic book TV shows for the past 30 years. That's not really a surprise in and of itself. Having Sam Lane and Amanda Waller as the big bads of a Superman show has been really interesting. And I guess just the last thing I'll mention is that there's this scientist that we see that just like has shitty luck all throughout season 1 with all of these like encounters. He worked for Ivo and such. And then in season 2, he turns around, oh yeah, my name is Luthor. So he can kind of guess the trajectory that character is taking. But I've been enjoying it. I'm watching season 2. Season 2 seems to have some of like the more like awkward stuff now that a lot of the preliminary stuff has been out of the way. But I'm enjoying it so far. And okay, just under 5 minutes for that. And oh no, it's time for the summary by me, isn't it? Let me drink some water. This is probably not going to be a super detailed summary.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, I see that Twitch has the countdown open. So sure, or it has the timer open. So sure, go ahead. Give me a countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. I'm pretty sure in episode 6, or maybe this happened in episode 5, the Blue Box Files crew got basically more or less kidnapped or detained by a member of UNIT that they're being interrogated by. I probably should have checked to see which episode that happened in to make sure I'm not repeating anything. But after actually, I think that was episode 5. But due to whatever's been going on with people and things being redacted, the unit officer who was interrogating them completely vanishes. So now they're in unit, really confused. Cleo seems to be the only one who can continue to remember anything. So you have situations like Kate Stewart and Osgood not knowing what half the things in unit are for, even though they should and have been there and have been paying attention. Their files are getting corrupted and all of these sorts of things. Abby winds up taking a job at UNIT because actually being involved in studying aliens has been kind of her dream. But because Cleo finds evidence that UNIT knew of his father's death, but not shared it with her, that causes Cleo and Shauna to basically be like, fuck UNIT and everything to do with them. Causing them to kind of fall out with Abby and attack. They join a support group for people who have lost someone. And while they're in the support group, everyone in the group except for them and the mysterious woman leading the support group go missing. And only Cleo seems to remember that any of these people ever even were there in the room 10 minutes ago. They then get a call from the doctor warning them, or I think Cleo specifically does, not to touch the ghost. And they find that there are these ghostly figures kind of all over London and many other cities. So while they're trying to find out more information, they wind up being found by Madame Vastra, who was actually the woman in charge of the support group. She leads them to safety and basically explains, kind of putting everything together, that kind of gives context that it's happening all over the world, and that at the rate it's going, humanity is going to be completely wiped out. Appearances. She brings them to, how has it been 3 minutes already? She brings them to an alien that they mention looks like a fetus in a jar. And this alien is basically like a fifth or sixth dimensional entity. Basically says the doctor made a mistake, and as a result, basically everyone is disappearing, and more or less tasks Cleo with killing the doctor in order to fix everything. After that, everybody else except for the fetus alien and Cleo disappeared due to the redaction. Sometime later, the doctor shows up and manages to talk Cleo down, and explains that that she found an alien virus that actually seems to be a psychic virus that attacks people's minds based on their knowledge of the doctor. They try to use some psychic messages to help to basically restore the victims, and Cleo realizes that what the psychic virus is doing is making a hallucination. We see people as gone, but it's all psychic. They're not actually gone. So by using this psychic projection, they're able to bring everybody back. Then the doctor leaves to go and kind of fix everything else that's been going on. The group all reconcile. Unit wants to keep everything secret, but Abby wants to continue sharing the truth, so she's no longer with Unit. There's a bit of an epilogue where everyone's kind of moving professional lives, and the aliens that were attacking Ronnie are mentioned once briefly that the doctor is aware of them, and never again. And that's the end.
Okay, so I would assume that would be with 15 seconds left. You did that in 4 minutes 45.
I did not think I was going into enough detail for 4:45, but then again, I talk twice as fast if it's scripted versus going off the top of my head.
Right, yeah. Like, I think that's, from personal experience, the not having written something out can really screw you over because you got to scramble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I realized there were more important details than I thought there were.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let's move into our review. And pecking order today, we start with Alex. What did you like about Redacted Series 1, Parts 6 through 10?
God. Ooh. God. God, and overall. I guess I'll just say the acting. In general. For lack of anything else, because it not that the acting had been bad prior or anything, but just whereas for things that could have been potentially negatives in terms of scripting or this or that, the acting still carried it to where I was still paying attention and still invested in what was going on, even if not on the edge of my seat invested. Generally, I do not think there are any weak performances.
Okay. And none at all.
Well,
Okay.
I'll put it this way. There'll probably be a performance that comes up that we might have an issue with that I'll leave for you, but
Okay.
it wasn't so much that the performance was bad, it was just in that instance. Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would at least say, yeah, the main cast and the majority of the performances definitely enjoyed. Kind of on that note, this is kind of probably not its own point, but kind of related to that. Having some time away from Abby helped me really actually be able to hear the difference between Abby's Scottish accent and Shauna's Northern accent. There's in Abby's accent, every vowel is extra half a letter in it. compared to Shauna's accent. So that actually really helped me in being able to distinguish them once I heard just Shauna with no Abby for like a few episodes, or at least it felt like a few episodes. Maybe it was just an episode. And then having Abby return to the show. Aaron, what did you like about these episodes?
I like how we figured out, or we find out Leo's connection with the doctor, and like just the background on how her father died and everything. So I felt I was pretty satisfied with that. It is kind of a cliche meeting of the doctor. Oh, my mother and my father was killed by this monster, and I met this mysterious man who also was fighting the monster and tried to protect me and stuff like that. So I can't remember what was. It was like one of the really bad episodes.
Are you making a
With
Love and Monsters comparison?
yeah, Love and Monsters. The main character from that also kind of suffered the same fate, where their parents, or at least one of their parents, died to a monster. So, and that's how
Yeah.
they met the doctor, or were exposed to the doctor. So, yeah, it is a little cliched in that, but I do like the foreshadowing of finding the clothes in the box, and kind of the feeling that Unit may have had something to do with it. And, they do have his clothes, and they are kind of tangentially connected to the doctor. We also hear that uh, Cleo's connected to Rose by living in the same apartment block as her. The monster who kills her father is the one from Blink, with Martha and the doctor chasing after it.
Yep.
What is it? The red hatching.
I was for a second. I was like, I know that you angels, but
Wait, what was that?
okay. For a second, I was like, oh, I know Aaron knows the name of the Weeping Angel, but that's not what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about, I guess, the B story of Blink, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
remember because I have not watched Blink in quite some time.
Yeah, I actually had to look it up on the wiki. It's the monster that Martha's hunting with a bow and arrow at the very beginning of Blink, along with the
Ah,
doctor. Yeah, they call it the red hatching. So,
mhm.
mhm. So I just thought that was all these little connections that kind of finally tie together. I thought it was fairly satisfying and stuff. So very much happy with that.
I guess I'm trying to think if I want to save this. Maybe I'm just going to bite my tongue and save something for least favorite scenes, because it relates to what you're saying, but doesn't really detract from your point. So I think I'll save it for least favorite scenes.
Mm.
But yeah, that have the Cleo doctor backstory and everything. Okay. And I think I'm not sure if there's any sort of image I can post on the slide for mine, but I guess I liked how they managed to make it into a proper Doctor Who story, because at the beginning, right, it seemed like it was just, oh, they're going to be these podcasters and they're going to uncover a mystery and maybe have to solve it. And like there were a few times where I was like, okay, if it keeps going this way, I'm not sure it's going to be that interesting for 10 episodes. But I think we can safely say by the time we got to this, like, it was interesting, it was engaging. It had running somehow, even though there were, a story about podcasts managed to have just as much running and physical activity as any other episode of New Who. So yeah, so I'll say it like that. It managed to fully immerse us, even though it had this kind of unique format, that it fully immersed us into a Doctor Who style story.
Yeah, I think it's a case of like they use the first 5 parts to get the main 3 across, and then it like fully commits to the Doctor Who story nature of it for the remaining.
it feels kind of like an extended Big Finish audio adventure
Hmm.
to me. I can tell that she's written for Big Finish audio, so.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. What do we dislike about this story, Alex?
I'm going to go with the fact that I didn't mind as much when, like, in the first 5 parts, where there's, and maybe it's just because it wasn't as constant because you're kind of ramping up to it, but the continuing mention of, like, Cleo being the only one who remembers certain people, like, it works for a bit, but I feel like they lean a bit too heavy on it in the latter half. Like, I kind of get why, but, like, just the constant, like, she'll talk about someone and everyone else is like, who, or whatever, is like, it gets kind of old.
Just a bit too repetitive.
Yeah, like, if it either didn't come up as much, or they just had, like, a moment where, like, Chloe is just kind of like, oh, forget it, and she just kind of is more talking to herself in those kinds of moments or something, or it's supposed to be an internal thought that she's just noting and then maybe brings up in one big group later or something, maybe. But yeah, it did kind of get like, okay, we're just kind of spinning our wheels at this point.
I'm just going to put a picture of Chloe there because I'm not sure how else to represent that, but
Mm.
I can see what you're saying. It's like I kind of like was waiting for there to be some sort of progression in that, but it just kind of kept repeating the same point
Yeah.
that Chloe is the only one who is noticing what's happening, and if anything, like the only progression was that it was happening more often and to more people,
Yeah.
but it wasn't changing in the way that they repeated the moment. All right, Aaron.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's kind of a little weird, but like something they do mention Joe Rogan in this set of episodes, and of course Joe Rogan is or was friends with Elon Musk, and Musk is constantly talking about the woke mind virus, and so this is we do have a mind virus wreaking havoc amongst our heroes in this story. I think it's meant to be more of a dig, though, at
Yeah,
Joe
it's
Rogan
a
and Elon
dig.
Musk and
Yeah.
that type of deal. So it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I really. It's kind of hard for me to say that I hate, so, like overall hate something with this uh podcast. Yeah, with the podcast here because I actually really liked it quite a bit. So I guess I don't know. I do have another thing too. Uh, the meeting for Requiem feels kind of weird being over Zoom, but again, that's not something I experienced during the pandemic. I was expected to show up to work, so because we were making the ventilator, so. But that kind of felt.
This
It
wasn't a
felt a little
physical thing. It
weird.
was just a meeting of strangers. So
It felt a little
I
weird.
can attest that a lot of things in my life that I would have to stay in person ended up moving to Zoom.
Yeah. So I feel like I think this is also supposed to be kind of a reference to how the pandemic has changed things. I would have preferred the meeting had been in real life, and then just still have like Requiem stand in the shadows or disguise herself somehow. but I guess I understand why
Have
they
Vastra
had it over
rush them at
Zoom.
the end.
Yeah, it's just yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of that would have been more impactful. It would have also been more cliche, and I think that the meeting being over Zoom is supposed to be a reference to the pandemic and how, yeah, maybe in a previous episode of Doctor Who, it would be in person, like they infiltrate some kind of meeting with Requiem, but during the pandemic, that's not going to happen. It's just going to happen over a Zoom call. And I think they played that off pretty well too with the people disappearing from Zoom calls because people disappear from Discord calls all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they really they played with the technical aspect of it really well. They're like, oh, like that box is all just a gray screen now. Don't you
Mm-hmm.
remember there being a person there?
Yeah.
Also, I'm kind of wondering if when this was being written, if it was at least partially meant. Obviously, it's not a one-to-one allegory, but if COVID inspired the way this story was written.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the idea of people just kind of disappearing, which is kind of what happened during the pandemic. People went into hospitals, and you weren't really allowed to see them all that much.
Very true.
So.
I can also early on in the pandemic, literally just before, especially before vaccines and before people knew what they were fighting, you would just know somebody and then be like, oh yeah, they stopped breathing. Fuck. Yeah. On that note, I mean, we have a member of our podcast who I'm like, I don't think there's anything confirmed about COVID, but we also, as far as I know, don't have anything confirmed as to,
Yeah.
at least that's been shared as to what the cause was. I
Yeah,
feel like that was happening a lot in 2020.
Yeah, they disappeared. They said that they had an upset stomach or something, and that was the last we heard of them.
Yeah. I did not expect that to loop back around to our own people when starting that comment. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I don't really have a very strong dislike for any one thing in this podcast or serial, and that's kind of the worst I can think of. I don't, other than Cleo's father dying in a cliche manner, how we see a lot of parents of would-be sidekicks show up or would-be companions show up.
All right. So this is definitely going to feel like nitpicky by comparison to some of the things we've been talking about, but the replacement actor for Vastra without Neve McIntosh just did not hit for me. And I feel like she was written properly, but it was it really felt like she was not. And I know they sometimes do this to make the actor feel less stress and have more freedom, but it didn't feel like she was trying to sound like Vastra at all. And in fact, some of her intonations made her sound more whiny than anything I would expect from Vastra. So
I mean, I know
I was really just what is going,
Yeah. From the little bit that I read of the trivia of aside from just the fact that they couldn't get Neve McIntosh, she wasn't available to record.
That makes sense.
It seems that they leaned into the fact that this is present day instead of in the past, and actively hired an older actor to voice the role. So she might have been
interesting because I don't think that came through in the performance. Because for example, there was certain line deliveries. There was the one where she was I think she said I'm going to count to 10 or something, and it's I can imagine how Neve McIntosh would say that, where she would just be annoyed but calm, and just be like, authoritative. And then here
Mm.
it's like it came off as just like whiny and frustrated. And I'm like, this isn't, like, it took me out of the story. I was like,
Mm.
this isn't Vastra.
I almost wonder if it's a matter of a direction problem as well, instead of just like, well, this is the performance we're getting, so we're just gonna go with it. And it was more like, maybe they were using the fact that like Madame Vastra sounded like she did, but she was also mostly in Victorian England, whereas maybe they were like, well, it's modern day, maybe she wouldn't still sound like that. So it was an idea to be like, oh, well, maybe she would speak in a more modern-ish way by this point, as society changes around her. Again, that's not me saying that necessarily worked, but I could see that being where they might have been coming from.
Okay. I still don't like the end result, but I could see what you're saying.
Yeah, again, like it's not a like, I could see that being where they were coming from, but just it's not going to land for everyone.
I kind of thought that too.
Yeah, like it is kind of funny because in a way, like when that reveal happens, it's actually more of a surprise by virtue of being a different actor. Whereas, like,
yeah, that's
the
like
second
it
Neve
definitely
McIntosh,
was more of a surprise.
Yeah, whereas if Neve McIntosh had been doing it, short of her putting on a slightly different voice,
she would have had to have she would have had to be doing an Arrow voice.
Yeah, or like have a filter over a voice or something.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that would have been another way to make use of the Zoom call. And then all of a sudden she would have shown up in person and we'd be like, wait a second, is that fucking Neve McIntosh?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite scenes, Alex.
Ooh, I guess given how the subplot between Cleo and her mum had been going, the ultimate payoff of that, of Cleo, the mum, and the brother all having dinner and getting along, and the mum apologizing in that, and the idea of like, it's not, and I like the fact that they're now in a positive place, and that the fact that this is how you can tell that a trans woman was the, I guess for lack of a better term, showrunner for this, that it's very clear that this isn't a everything is completely fine so much as a road to recovery thing. Like it's not all instantly it's not all instantly okay. It's just a matter of like, it's, we're starting over on the right path now.
You're gonna make me look up some actors that I haven't yet. Yeah, if I had one complaint about that, is that there were certain things like the spacing in between like Cleo and her mom's like conversation, where like they had, they talked about certain topics, and then almost right away having the dinner scene made certain things feel a little repetitive, even though, again, in real life you have these conversations multiple times because you're you're hurt and whatever else. But in the pacing of the story, it felt a little weird. I'd be like, Cleo, why are you saying the whole like, whose fault is that when you had this conversation 30 seconds ago or whatever? And it's like, and obviously in their life it wasn't 30 seconds, so that's not criticism to the characters. It's criticism really to the pacing of the story.
Yeah, like one of those things where if the episodes were not like full half hour, but even just like slightly longer, the pacing for that probably could have been a bit better, but yeah.
It's not pasting. Knowing Google, it's not a real image. It's like I have so many images of the actors. I was like, let me actually use an image of Chloe this time instead of using Charlie Craig's. Or maybe Canvas is being weird on me because this should be pasting now. There we go. Okay, Aaron, what was your favorite scene?
I'm gonna say the revelation of Madame Vastra, because like when I first was hearing about Requiem, I'm like, okay, well this one's like a scam artist, like, and then you get through the meeting and it's just like Requiem she doesn't really come off as a scam artist during the meeting all that much. Maybe at first, but then she starts like.
Sorry.
She starts making very probing like questions or asking very probing questions, and she starts sounding kind of empathetic and kind of like she actually cares about what's going on, and that's not something a scam artist would do or a fake psychic would do. So I kind of had a feeling there was something more to her, and so I'm really happy to hear that they brought back Madame Vastra as as one of the heroes of the story. So
it was interesting how they managed to they played with the again playing with the digital medium of like it seemed like the sound was breaking up or whatever. So in a Vastra being like, "I'm coming for you," and, oh, is Requiem actually the bad guy?
Yeah.
And then it turns out no, she's to them to get them to safety.
Yeah, I really loved how they played with it. I love how they're astonished to see her, but she's like, "Oh, the world is I'm so much older," or something like that. Than your little monkey brain could wrap your head around, or something.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. She kind of brought a sense of gravitas to it. I mean, along with the doctor. Well, the doctor kind of was a little bit more subdued in this incarnation. Maybe, I don't know, but she doesn't have like this grandiose persona that Madame Vastra has for me. So
fair. Hey, I agree. There was like it really felt like a triumphant moment. I was like, oh yes, Vastra is here. Like she's a veteran. She'll know what to do. She's fucking jumping out of 10th story windows and landing on the ground. Although when she told them to jump, I'm like, yeah, it's might not have a good outcome if they listen to you. And I'm having trouble narrowing it down further, so I'm just going to say the sequence with the Doctor and Cleo. And the parts that really stand out to me are one, the whole basically like mental trauma as a vaccination. With Cleo basically like because she went through this traumatic incident and repressed the memory that repressed her from like experiencing the Doctor, because that was something I was starting to mentally criticize the story for. I was like, okay, it started off that people who know the Doctor are disappearing. Now you have these people who have been intimately studying the Doctor, and they're not disappearing, especially Cleo. Is like, so why is it random now? And it's like, okay, the reason it's not affecting Cleo is actually relevant. It's not just random chance that Cleo's not affected. it's not just that she wrote something with marker on her arm. It's actually relevant to the story and to her own personal arc. But also the fact that Cleo played that role in the ending of saying, the reason this psychic virus is affecting things is because it's a hallucination, which, by the way, makes the whole thing with Unit, like, torturing them to see if they'll react, even worse.
Yeah.
Just got to say that.
Yeah.
But and by the way, the timing, the first mention of an alleged woke mind virus was shortly before this came out, so it depends on how quickly it was written and recorded as to whether that was even a thing in the cultural conversation when this was written or not.
Yeah.
So it was either a direct reaction or completely a coincidence. It's hard to tell which, unless there are interviews. I haven't looked up any interviews about the show. All right. Least favorite scenes, Alex.
Let's see. Can I actually narrow one down? God. I guess just like for the sake of saying something and to go along with like the sort of worst overall aspect that I brought up, I'll bring up just a specific example of one of the times where I was like, okay, come on, we've done this, like this song, and there's like this record's getting a bit old and getting a bit scratched up. Was the I guess specifically the Zoom call, where like at one point Chloe's just like, there were 20 people. There were like 20 people in here when we started. Do you think? Why would you? Like, why would you? Don't you think it's a bit weird that like a blank room would be in a Zoom call or something like that? Because it's like,
right?
Because like that specifically is like, you would think that. I guess specifically because wow, I'm blanking on names now. Wow, because I remember Abby and Chloe, but if now I'm blanking
Shauna.
on Shauna, yeah. Like Shauna is very much like not like, there's basically no acknowledgement of like, oh yeah, that is weird that there's like all these unless the idea is that she just can't see any of those other boxes at all. But
yeah, because I think like Shauna kind of points out, we're like, no, that box. She's like, that box never had anybody in.
Yeah,
just an empty room.
Yeah, which like, especially for her, that feels a bit weird that she wouldn't be like, hey, yeah, what the hell? Why isn't there anyone there? Like, because she's supposed to be like the conspiracy theorist. So it would be weird that she's like just kind of very blasé about that, rather than being like, hey, yeah, why is there no one in majority of these little boxes? Like, why are there
I think that's meant to be like part of the whole like hallucination virus thing, but I'm kind of like, I'm trying to think if there's any other examples or if it's really specified in other way.
Because like she does kind of catch on in a later scene where she's like, where like the ghosts start appearing. and she can see them, and like Chloe's just kind of like, oh, you can see him too now, kind of. Cleo's like, yeah, you can see them too now, all of a sudden, and it's just like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, like something about that specific aspect is just a bit
Okay.
like, yeah, that was the most glaring example in this stretch of like, okay, this is a bit overplayed now.
All right, Aaron, how about you?
I'd say the Sonic mascara got a little bit overplayed. It's also a little cringe. It's just like
So the
really
whole
Sonic
scene with
mascara.
the ginger ale and the Diet Coke. When
Yeah,
I
I mean, I
search
think
for
it's
Sonic
kind of
mascara
fun,
and I
but
get all Sonic the Hedgehog like merchandise and cosplay.
I get it's supposed to be kind of fun and a more lighthearted part of the story, but I don't know, like it's just a little, it's just a little goofy. Like I don't know. Maybe it's a more personal thing where I just don't wear makeup in that because I think that it's kind of BS that I should have to
I
in
don't
order.
think this is actually makeup though.
Yeah, I know it's not. I think it's just kind of I don't know, a kind of a nod towards femininity, and also kind of a nod towards Cleo kind of accepting her femininity and stuff like kind of like that.
I'm guessing you're
Um,
not a fan of Sarah Jane's Sonic lipstick.
I don't even remember Sarah Jane's Sonic lipstick actually. Yeah, was that in Sarah Jane Adventures?
Yeah, Sarah Jane Adventures, and
Yeah.
it shows up in at least one of her New Who era appearances, because it is a New Who era invention.
Yeah, it's kind of the what woman wouldn't want Sonic mascara or Sonic lipstick, that type of deal. So it's just like maybe a woman doesn't wear makeup. So it
Fair,
just kind of
although
annoyed
I
me.
guess I don't think Missy could ever be accused of not wearing makeup.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of all kind of the traditional femininity that a lot of New Who a lot of New Who companions. That's what they were written for.
Fair.
So,
and I guess I would ask, kind of as a corollary to that, would you consider a sonic screwdriver to be inherently masculine or neutral?
I think actually masculine, except for the fact that Lala Ward had her own sonic screwdriver as well, which was kind of the thing too. So, but also Lala Ward, I don't think wore a lot of makeup either. So, except for traditional,
at least natural looking, like it was not.
Yeah, she had a more
touching
natural look
herself.
to her.
Like I'm sure there's no way she was just rolled out of bed like that. But
yeah. I'm sure she had to wear some kind of makeup for the cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess, and it's not like that big of a deal. It's just because I liked the show for the most part, but it was just something that was a little weird, kind of cringe for me, I guess.
Okay. All right, so for mine, I'm going to go with the stuff to the side. I'm gonna go with the like box of clothing from Cleo's dad and such, and I think I have a few issues with that subplot kind of in general. But I think the scene in particular kind of stands out because it really feels like it was just put there to create conflict and not really to drive the story naturally. So they're asking about the Daleks, and the guy says, well, I'm not going to tell you what a Dalek is, but here's this room full of clothes you can check out. So I would think we're meant to infer that everybody there was victim of Daleks, but then we find out, no, that's not true at all. So there's no real reason for appointed them there in the first place.
Hmm.
But secondly, like, they never at any point stopped to have a conversation with anybody about any of it. Like, you know, if your dad was killed in an alien invasion and they didn't publicize the alien invasion, maybe there's some value in at least having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Also, the assumption that they knew that it was Cleo's dad, like, if you know, dozens of people have died and they're collecting their possessions. I mean, first of all, it is a little weird to keep their collections individually separated if you're not returning them to family. But either way, like, to assume that any one person there, when all of the files have been corrupted, and Shauna should know that. Shauna's the tech person. Yeah, Shauna was the one who was involved in trying to fix the files. So if all of their files are fucked up, so they can't, they already tried searching for Proctor and found nothing. So why would you assume that anyone there actually is familiar with this box and knows that it's associated with your father? It just seems like one of those like idiot plots that exists solely because they need a fight to happen to separate the characters, and so that's going to be the cause of the fight without it being natural.
Yeah.
Also, this is not related to the scene at all, but it's related to the subplot, and there's not a better time in it. It seems a little weird that if Cleo's dad died when she was 6, and then she left home, got kicked out of home, they argue about which happened at 16, but then they keep saying, like, I was a mess when your father disappeared. It seems like they should have at least addressed the fact that it happened 10 years after the father disappeared. Like, these there's a correlation, but not a very strong one.
Yeah.
Unless you just like went on a 10-year bender. So those are my complaints.
Yeah, like, I think it's also generally like she didn't come out until she was 16, and that's what got her kicked out / why she left.
Yeah, but the connecting it to the father's disappearance is weird.
Well, I think it's like in previous stuff it had come up that like there was like underlying tension between the two after the dad disappeared anyway, and then just that must have been the boiling point. I'd have to re-listen to the entire thing to like really be certain of that, but yeah.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten to it. I mean, yeah, I was. It would have been a very low listening to 15 episodes before this podcast, but it would be nice to re-listen to everything, knowing the full backstory now, and see if that affects any interpretations. Which seems to be a great way to transition into final thoughts. Starting with Alex.
I will say that for all the faults that the latter half did potentially have, I do think it was still fairly strong for what this is. Again, the acting holds up. It was a bit jarring to have someone else playing Madame Vastra, but at least to me personally, it didn't come off like as jarring as like I forget the story off the top of my head, and I don't want to like linger on this too long, but someone who was doing a John Pertwee impersonation for a Big Finish story we covered at one point, like that was a lot more jarring, probably just because, you know, it's the Doctor, so it's a primary, like, there all the time, hearing him a lot.
Do you remember
character?
Do you remember if that was Tim Treloar, if it was before they cast him?
God, I can't remember what the story is of when it was from, just that was one where Michael Troughton, I think, played the second Doctor.
Yeah, I think that was the first full length third Doctor adventure story.
And like that, and yeah, again, it might be just a matter of like Madame Vastra's not like front and center. So if she was, and it wasn't Neve McIntosh, it probably would have been a hell of a lot more jarring. But in this instance, she's not like, she's there like a decent amount, but she's not the main focus. So like I kind of just went along with it. Or at least it didn't like fully take me out of it anyway. But yeah, like I would say, like, I was like, my worry generally for this was that it would be one of the things of like, I remember last time saying that it felt like the end of part 5 made me want to keep listening, and I was almost kind of worried that it would have that like New Who two-parter problem where like you enjoy the first half and then the second half everything kind of, for the most part usually with New Who, tends to kind of go to shit. And you always tend to prefer the first half to the latter, whereas I feel like in this instance it's kind of the other way around. Like I enjoyed the first half quite a bit, but I did ultimately enjoy this half of it more, probably because again there's like the more plot heavy part because we finished all the setup. But yeah, I would definitely say that this is worth a listen, especially because it's just up on that website and you can just listen to it whenever, or seemingly you can from what I ended up doing is that you can download it freely on the website. So I ended up just doing that, so I didn't have to remember to go back to the website every time.
Yeah, they blocked it on the app, but it is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So at least international listeners do have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, generally leaning overall pretty positive for this.
All right, Aaron?
I don't know. Is Dr. Anthony Sinclair from the unit video related to Ryan Sinclair? The answer? I looked it up, and no, they don't seem to be related at all. Just a similar last name.
If you live in the UK, tell us if that's a common name in the comments.
I enjoyed this, the last half of this. I didn't think the first half was too bad. I liked the mystery surrounding it, but this definitely had a lot of the action and a lot of the, it played up the Doctor, it played up, it, reintroduced Madame Vestra to a lot of fanfare and a lot of cool stuff. It wrapped up a lot of loose ends. I felt pretty well. Did a pretty good job of that. Yeah, definitely worth a listen since it is fairly easy to get your hands on. And there's a lot of other great scenes that I enjoyed, such as the authority figure showing up to destroy the monster, only to be destroyed by the monster, and then you're like, oh shit, there's no one here to save us.
Mm-hmm.
we gotta kind of run away from this thing. There's until Madame Vastra shows up, but like the ghosts destroying the
so the authority figure was, you're saying the police?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you come and you think, oh, they're gonna show up and save the day, aren't they?
It was like
maybe
calling the army against Godzilla or the Saiyans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. So I enjoyed a lot of the tension, and the resolution was a little convoluted for my taste. I kind of would have preferred something a little bit more cut and dry, but the idea of everything just kind of being an illusion and trying to draw people out of that illusion, that's also kind of the whole I think maybe a reference to kind of a right-leaning ideology where the promises of more kind of regressive people can become an illusion for others that lead to our loved ones kind of disappearing into this black hole conspiracy theories and whatnot. And it's kind of up to us to try it. Well, at least when this show was made in 2022, we kind of believed that we could still bring them back to us and break that illusion. So
I think the way you phrase that, be like, at a certain point, we believed that we could pull
yeah.
people out of the rabbit hole, and now
Hmm.
we're just trying not to get kidnapped off the street by masked men.
Yeah, and they even mentioned Rogan's Spotify deal in this podcast too. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd definitely give it a watch. It's well worth it.
Well, a listen anyway.
Yeah, give it a listen. I was watching it with my brain.
But yeah, so after part 5, I remember being like, okay, I'm how they're going to carry this forward. Are they going to completely abandon the like walk through memory lane part, or are they going to be able to continue with that? How are they going to handle the story? And I think they performed well on both fronts. Obviously, they didn't actively record any podcast episodes until the epilogue, but they continued. Right, they brought us Vastra. They brought us. They had a mention. Oh, that's right. It wasn't a new podcast episode, but it was like an old one that we hadn't heard before. It was like being psychically broadcast with Harriet Jones and such. So I thought that was cool. Even though they didn't actually record new podcast episodes, we were still exposed through their podcast to more Doctor Who history. So I thought that was handled really well. They continued with the plot line. My biggest complaint about the plot line, and I mentioned this during the summary and I never brought it up again, the Ravulox, which, I mean, at first we didn't know the name. I think Unit gave us the name, or someone did. And then the Doctor mentions them as, like, it seemed like they were the big bad. Like, they were like, humans must die. And then they were locking on to Chloe's location. We will go to London and kill them. So we're like, oh, wow, so these robots are the bad guys. We're going to learn about these robots 6 through 10. And they really were, I think they were just a nod to one of the novels or something. Because I remember looking it up when I was making the title card. I think they were from a novel. So that's, I think, all it was a, and I feel like it was built up as more important than that. So if I had one complaint, it was that specific moment, and that was in part 6 through 10. But in terms of like the way that it was followed up on was unsatisfying. But I would say in general terms, I mean, I had some complaints about some of the subplots, but I would say in general terms, I think this was fulfilled pretty well. And we managed to carry that through. I was starting to doubt that we would, but we've carried that to about 5 minutes up to our target. And considering other things went over, I guess technically that means we're at our target. But can't blame the review for the news. So without further ado, rating, Alex. So last time you gave a 4.5. So your true rating for Redacted will be the average of 5, and what you say?
God, it's fun. You know what? I think this will just be flatly a 4.5.
4.5, okay. Aaron.
I'm gonna go just slightly lower and give it a 4.0.
All right, so average of 4.0 and 4.0 is 4.0. So both of you gave the same to both parts. So mine, part of me wants to bring I want to bring my average up, but I also know that I can't just say that the second half is a 5.0. But I had the lowest original part because I was like, this is just above average, not super feeling it, but interested. So I think I can faithfully say 4.5 for the second part, which averages mine out to a 4, even with Alex giving the highest rating. Between everything, that gives this an average of 4.33. So I'm going to have to kind of like mess with how the master sheet handles that so that we don't have different redacted rankings on here.
Yeah.
We don't need multiple rankings. But a 4.33 puts this as, let me move this to the big screen. It is between numbers 119 and 129 out of 790 things reviewed. Again, lower being better. I guess I'll compare it with spin-offs, or I can compare it with audio dramas.
Yeah.
It is on par with Destiny of the Doctor, Shadow of Death, Destiny of the Doctor, Babelsphere, and Main Range, Storm Warning. It is not as good as Ninth Doctor Adventures, Planet of the End, Destiny of the Doctor, Smoke and Mirrors, or The Judgment of Iskar, Main Range. And it is better than Big Finish version of Shada. Why are there no other audio dramas up here? It's better than Susan's War, Sphere of Influence. Better than The Chimes of Midnight. Ninth Doctor Adventure, Girl Deconstructed, and Ninth Doctor Adventure, Monsters in Metropolis. And that is all we have to say about Redacted Parts 6 through 10. So let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's story if you've listened to it. And again, it is free. It's free with ads outside the UK. It's free, period, assuming if you have a UK TV license. Don't forget to like the video if you've listened this far. Subscribe on YouTube to get our exports, or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream. Next time, we move on to our annual look at K9 with Mutant Copper, written by John O'Brien and starring Robert Maloney as Professor Griffin, Keegan Joyce as Starkey, Philippa Coulthard as George Turner, Daniel Weber as Darius Pike, and John Leeson as the voice of K9. We will see you then.